Hi, it's Nat from Sonic Arts here, and today I have a short video where I'm going to be showing you my favorite 3 digital audio workstations that I use week in, week out to mix and record live audio and create electronic music. Now, all 3 of them have slightly different purposes, but you can pretty much do anything in any digital audio workstation. It's just that each one has its own style and flavor. I like to use the analogy of a car. Most cars have an overarching purpose that you drive them to get somewhere and to carry things from one place to another place, as well as yourself. So if you are on a farm though, you might choose a certain style of car like a 4-wheel drive or a ute, because there are certain things on a farm that you need to do. It's still a car, but it's a different kind of car. Whereas how that works with digital audio workstations, some are geared more towards electronic music production and solo producers, bedroom producers, using loops and samples. Other digital audio workstations are geared more towards the recording and mixing of live audio, such as tracking a drum kit, recording vocals, and then some of them are kind of all-rounders, so like an all-terrain vehicle, where they're good at both. So there are lots and lots of digital audio workstations, and if you're thinking about purchasing one or trialing a few out, I hope this will help you make a more informed decision. Now, these are my 3 favorite pieces of software. You can only really use a couple of Daws on a daily basis because they all have different key shortcuts and styles, and if you start spreading yourself too thin, you don't get really good at any one of them. So I've specialized in one, and then I use 2 more, but you've got so many other ones that I'm not going to cover in this video that are actually fantastic pieces of software. So I'm not going to be covering Cubase, Fruity Loops, Studio One, entry-level ones like GarageBand or Audacity. There are so many out there, but my top 3 I'm going to show you, and the first one at number 3 is Logic Pro X. Logic Pro X is a fantastic piece of software for general use and as an all-rounder. You can produce electronic music, you can do hip-hop beats, you can do singer-songwriter, acoustic guitar and live vocals, and it's really good at recording and using sort of virtual instruments and MIDI and producing, but there's also really good features for the recording of live audio. I've mixed plenty of albums that have been commercial quality and ready to send off to the mastering engineer in Logic, and I've had a lot of people come in who have created music in Logic and they want to record studio vocals and replace the vocals that they recorded at home, and then we'll do a mix here. So the fantastic thing about Logic, it used to be really expensive and you used to have to pay extra for the plugins and virtual instruments. That was when eMagic owned it. Now Apple own Logic. They've made it very cheap. I think it's around about $199 in the US currently. They've made it very accessible for beginners because they give you all these fantastic presets, which are actually quite good as far as presets go. I generally steer clear of using presets, but for beginners, I was actually really quite impressed with the presets that they give you. See, I'm just clicking on an audio track here, and then they're giving you, let's say you just wanted to track a bass guitar, fuzz bass there. If I click on that, it's just going to actually load up an entire channel strip for you with a preset EQ, a noise gate for cutting out amp noise, a pedal board, a bass amp, and well, there's another, yeah, there's the EQ there. So some of them, let's say for the vocals, the bright vocal, really good. You get this great channel strip and you just plug your mic in and you're ready to go. That's if you're a novice and you really don't know much about music production. These presets are actually quite good, and you get a similar thing for the virtual instruments. They have a really big range of virtual instruments, synths and real sounding instruments, and I was actually quite impressed with their drum kits. Really professional. So you don't need to purchase a lot of extra plugins. You've got it all there in the Logic package, which you can buy as a digital download, and you can do everything you need. You just spend that initial purchase, and then I used to use third-party programs for making, you know, drum kits, drum sort of live drum programs. But I was just so impressed with some of the kits that they give you in Logic. And as you can see, if you double click on this, it's like a model of a kit there, and all live samples and things like that. The other great thing about Logic is that they have for the master track, so let's have a look here, there's a stereo out over here, they have patches here, channel strips for mastering. So if you don't know what mastering is, maybe go have a look at some of my other videos. But mastering is just finishing a song off, giving it the commercial loudness and balance, and I was really impressed at some of their mastering chains that they have here. So great all-round piece of software. My second favorite is Pro Tools, which is owned by the company Avid and used to be owned by DigiDesign. Now, Pro Tools, if you are an aspiring sound engineer, you want to work in recording studios, it's almost a must to learn Pro Tools. Pro Tools is my favorite piece of software for mixing live audio, for tracking audio in the studio. It's really geared towards the audio side of things. Although that said, it does have a lot of quite good virtual instruments and really nice MIDI capabilities. So if you've got a nice selection of third-party plugins, I'm not a huge fan of the plugins that they give you in Pro Tools, but if you have some nice expensive synths or drum programs, and you know, you can interface them, use them really easily as a virtual instrument. But this really, for a long time, and still is quite a standard piece of software for the tracking of live audio and mixing and mastering as well. And you've got fantastic things, features here. So if I just create a new track, so let's say this was a vocal track, and you know, you wanted to record a vocal here, and you just hit record, and you were to record a take. So actually I'm just going to solo that so we don't hear the rest of the track. So let's say for argument's sake that was your vocal take, and then you wanted to do another one, you just hit new here and it hides that away, and you record another take there, and then you do the same again. This is creating a new playlist here. The playlisting feature in Pro Tools is fantastic for tracking live vocals and live drums, pretty much anything. And then when you're done, you can switch to the playlist view. So if I create it there, so those are my 3 takes, and on this take I really like the first verse, there it is there. In this take I really liked the middle bit, but I needed just one word from this take, and that's how you comp together really quickly and easily. It's one of my favorite for tracking and comping vocals. But if we had a drum kit in a studio, you could easily create an 8 mic setup and then pop them in a group, Command G on a Mac, and then if I had them all on record, here we go, you could just track the whole drum kit like that. I'm tracking on the vocal track as well, and then make a new playlist. So you can see the audio, tracking of audio, mixing of audio. It's Pro Tools is really good, and I've just been a long time user of Pro Tools. It's really quick, really intuitive to create automation. It is a really solid piece of software, and in version 11 and 12 they added offline bouncing, so you can export your songs a lot quicker. They should have done that a lot earlier. I don't know why they didn't. So they have made some improvements in the later versions. But so you've got Logic, the all-rounder. You've got Pro Tools, mainly geared towards recording of live, real audio, analog. And then my absolute favorite piece of software is Ableton Live. And I was first introduced to Ableton Live when I was at university about 7 years ago, and it was a little bit intimidating at first. It was a bit weird to figure out because it was slightly less intuitive than some of the other digital audio workstations, and it really is an expert program. But this is the program that you need to get if you are making electronic music, if you are using a lot of automation, if you're a composer and you're making experimental music and you want to make music quickly and you want to get your ideas out of your head. If you've got a MIDI keyboard really quick, Ableton Live is a really powerful tool. And once you learn the basics of Ableton Live, it's actually the easiest and quickest piece of music software to operate. I just love it. So for an example, this is Ableton Live 10, which I'm currently trialing out because I'm still using 9 as my main. But here's a virtual instrument. I'm just going to drag and drop, and I'm ready to go. I'm already playing there, and then I record that. I'm just playing on my keyboard there. So if I wanted to automate the volume on that, I'll just right click on the volume bar here, select the automation, and I can make that dip in volume and then come back up again. That's how quick and easy it is to automate things. You can automate anything. You can automate the pan from left to right. You can automate the actual instrument itself. This is the wavetable synthesizer, which is new in Ableton 10. It's really good for making trap music and future bass and things like that. But you can see that frequency there. You can actually automate anything you want. And then if I liked what I did there, but I wanted to take some of the pressure off of my central processor, I could just right click that, freeze that track and flatten it, and there I have the audio of what I just did. So you can see this is actually a really good tool for performing live music as well, electronic music live. So it's a little bit more than your standard DJ setup. It's more for the electronic music producer, performer, and then you use this screen here where you've got all these clips and they interface with the Ableton Live Push, which is a audio external controller. It's a control surface, but it still has all the features of a standard digital audio workstation. I've made jazz using virtual instruments. I've done piano and vocals. I've recorded live vocals into Ableton Live. It doesn't have that natural playlisting feature like Pro Tools does, so you might need to create a few audio tracks and record one take of your vocals there and then switch it off and then record another one there and then comp them up onto a track somewhere. So it's not quite as intuitive and easy for tracking live audio, but you can still do it. You can pretty much do anything you can think of in Ableton Live. It's the clear winner for me. It's such a slick piece of software. I've created tracks that have been signed to record labels using nothing except the in Suite. I've got the Suite version, so these instruments here and the audio effects are so good. I do a lot of mastering in the box in Ableton Live using nothing more than these audio plugins. They give you a really big range and they also give you a heap of samples. So this really is the expert mode version for creating hip-hop music, loop-based music, experimental music, but really any genre you can think of, and make it fast and on the fly. And you can I've even done composing for short film. In this you can interface video tracks into Ableton. So there you go, everybody. Those are my favorite 3 pieces of music software, my favorite 3 DAWs, and there are so many high quality pieces of software out there. We are absolutely spoiled these days. Those are the ones that I have learnt and have endeavored to master, particularly Ableton Live and Pro Tools, and I'm still learning the ins and outs of Logic. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it valuable, make sure you subscribe and drop us a like. And if you want to see some more content, you can visit sonicarts.com.au for future videos. Okay, thanks everyone.